What's up, everybody? So we're back here, another live session with me and Steve Cohen, and we're here to talk about some judo. So Steve, what do you have planned for us today?
Well, first thing we're going to talk about the Junior Olympics because there was a major rule change for coaches put up by surprise, and then we're going to talk about some ashiwaza, some foot techniques that are not done as much in the United States anymore, but something that we need to start focusing on.
Yeah, I think the hardest part for people when it comes to doing ashiwaza, right, is people want that instant gratification of if you teach me something, I want to be able to do it right now. And Ashiwaza is so easy to just go, I'm going to stop it as my partner, right? As Uke. You really need that cooperation in the learning stage. And you lose a lot of interest from a lot of people until somebody actually puts in the time and dedication to like actually get it to work and find that timing with all the foot sweeps. That looks really smooth when somebody pulls it off, but teaching it can be a real headache, especially if you don't have the right training partners to help you learn that feel of what you're looking for and the feel in your hands and body positioning.
Without a doubt. But the thing is that it was apparent in this last competition when Daria Billet had lost to a girl from Netherlands who was comfortable playing lefties and used her feet really well, and she just kind of just threw her with a foot sweep, and Daria Billet looked lost, right against left, especially for righties. It's so important to attack that front foot and be and have some kind of technique to do that because it changes the match. Because as we know, lefties fight 90% righties and righties fight 90% righties. So the lefties have such a distinct advantage over us. So there's no question it takes years to learn, years to learn. And an interesting thing though too is that I grew up doing judo in the early '60s, where it was first and second generation Japanese. The movement was different. Everyone flowed. Ashiwaza was normal. It was part of judo. We practiced ashiwaza every single day. Most people use their feet well. The kids did. It was part of our everyday judo, and slowly that ended as clubs started going out, and and clubs ended as people got older. There's no succession plan to continue the teaching, and we just kind of lost it. But years ago, it wasn't that unusual.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing a lot of judo coaches are missing are those I do these things every day and over time we'll see improvement instead of that, hey, I'm going to show this person this one trick and they're going to get that instant gratification, right? Because even when I was a kid, like we would sweep the mat as part of warm up. You would do like
Yes.
50 sweeps both sides. I remember doing the gripping of your hands,
Yes.
the pulling, right? Like all those like basic movements that you don't really see in today's dojos, but it plays such a vital role for like long-term development and just developing good athletes, good motor skills.
That's why beginning judo coaches teaching fundamentals are so critical. I was talking to
Yeah.
my girls today, and they still struggle to counter Osotogari. Yet, it's unbelievable. I mean, when I taught judo to beginners in the first month, they learn how to counter Osoto. I've got girls that are on the cadet world team that struggle to counter Osoto. It's just a basic fundamental move, and they can't do it because they were never taught at a young age. And it's so critical to learn at a young age all the fundamentals. And then as time goes by, even if you do judo socially, you're slowly getting better with the right fundamentals.
Yeah. A lot of coaches just fall into the this is what I'm comfortable category instead
Right,
of like this is what people need.
right. What am I
Right.
going to do
And that
today?
can be really
Yeah.
boring.
What am I going to do today? What did I see on the internet? Let's learn this move.
Yeah.
You
Instead of just having those basic skills that are part of your everyday 10 or 15-minute warm up of class that over time, like it makes learning the fancy stuff really simple and really easy.
Yeah. And for anyone that wants, I write my coach's monthly letter that way, starting from the beginning. And this new letter is on Uchikomi, and I have a link to you doing Ippon Seoinage in there. Just simple, slowly start the warm up, do the skills, do the sweeps. Move your feet in the right direction. Now we start with Uchikomi and Kazushi, both Tori and Uke, knowing what to do. And those are skills that once you learn them, there's lots you can do with two people.
Yeah. There's a good workout that you can get just from learning the movements and practicing the movements, especially for people that don't move at a high level all the time. Anytime you do something new for the first time, it's tiring. New muscle groups, new balance points. It always becomes a struggle. Right?
Well, without a doubt. And again, doing judo for the first time is like putting a square peg in a round hole. Your body doesn't move that way.
Yeah.
And slowly your body gets softer as you start doing it. And the same person that couldn't do it, now a year later is doing the same moves because his body's getting softer and he's bending in a direction he couldn't bend a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So repetition is so critical. So critical.
So Steve, one of the guys here in chat asked, what's the highest percentage Ashiwaza? What's your answer?
The highest percentage. I would.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Well, if we're considering Ouchigari as an Ashiwaza, you probably see more Ouchigari. But I mean, the Ashibarai, there's just not as many people that do it, but the few that do it so well.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right, where like you really want to label like the success, right? Like what do you deem as success? Because I tell all my athletes, like, Ashiwaza doesn't have to score to be successful.
Without a doubt.
Right? And if we're looking at like Ashiwaza as did it help the success of the throw or not? My number one pick would be Kouchi.
Yeah.
It's so versatile from being able to score with and also open people up and generate reactions that it's definitely the most threatening.
And it's not only a technique, it's also to get your grip and get in a better position.
Yeah.
If you just knock your opponent off balance, it opens up the opportunity to get an advantage again. Yeah. And always when you're grip fighting, you want to use your feet. You want to use your feet. Yeah. So it's a lost art. I don't see enough of it. I really don't in the United States.
So before we get too far into the Ashiwaza conversation, what was the rule change at the Junior Olympics?
So the Junior Olympics, they went to the IJF rules for the cadet and juniors, where the coaches could not coach during the match, only during the mate. And if they did coach during the match, they'd get penalized and removed. To my knowledge, nobody was removed, but the change was not the issue as much as it was that it was put on the coaches the day before the competition.
I was there. I was also there 3 months ahead of time or a month ahead of time when they actually decided that rule change was going to be put into effect. So they knew at the senior nationals, which was it a month, 3 weeks?
Yep. At least
whatever it was somewhere near and around the Junior Olympics. They didn't actually release or tell anyone that this change had been approved and voted on until they sent out the letter. What was it? 48 hours before the registration closed. I mean, I was already there before we even got there. Like, we didn't even have a chance. So I think my biggest frustration is not the rule change, but their lack of ability to enforce it.
Yeah.
That's where I really struggled. And I always stand on the side of, allow more people to be involved in the ways they want to be involved. And then good people will just rise to the top. and then we can follow the people who are exceeding our low bar of expectations.
Well, the thing is that in the past, I don't know how they do it now, really, but in the past, like when you competed, we had a national coach, most of the time. And when I was national coach, I knew the rules, and the rules were different sometimes internationally than they were nationally. And it was my job to know them, and I knew how to coach. Now I think it's kind of random, and it makes it a little more difficult that anyone can go and coach at one of those tournaments at a Grand Prix or Grand Slam. All they got to do is get approval, if I'm not mistaken. So the thing is, and I asked the question after the fact, if someone broke the rules, is he thrown out of the tournament? Does that mean he can't coach his 5-year-old kid? What are the rules? Because internationally, you're thrown out. You can't coach again.
Yeah, so the way they explained it at the Junior Olympics was your first time was a warning. Your second infraction meant you were removed from both days, right? But you would be allowed to coach everybody who wasn't in a cadet or IJF junior division. That's the way the rules set. The problem is they didn't enforce anything. So you basically had coaches who were challenging the status quo, saying, well, I'm going to keep doing what I've always been done until somebody tells me otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have coaches actually trying to follow the rules that are now coaching at a disadvantage.
Right. And they had kids go around, coaches go around and coach from behind the gate, wherever it was.
Yeah, which was 3 feet behind the chair,
Yeah.
And I guess that's where the frustration is. And it's one of those things where I actually yelled at the referees about it when I was there. I stood up in my chair during the match about them not doing their job and policing the coaches. Right. And then the funny part was even though I stood up out of my chair, I looked at them all, I yelled at all of them, and I sat back down. I didn't even get a warning. They didn't even bother, which was part of the frustration that they're not policing it. So it's only hurting people who are trying to be fair.
It was interesting because at the World Championships, there was coaching from the stands, but it was done respectfully, and it wasn't wild. Someone would say, keep your right foot forward, get your, something small, quick, and that was it. So there was an understanding that they'd be allowed to talk to their player if they weren't overwhelming and yelling and screaming, and they allowed that to go. And I like that. Yeah, I like that. I don't think that hurt anything. But someone screaming from the stands and yelling at the referee is a little too much.
Yeah, it's definitely a balancing act where USA Judo is trying to show the IJF that they are playing ball, and they're trying to make sure that Americans are trained to be respectful so that they can eventually put a Grand Slam or a Grand Prix or some IJF international event here in the States to try to raise the prestige of judo in America. So I understand what they're trying to do. They're just, half-assing it isn't the word I would use. They're not following through. With the expectation of the IJF.
I mean, ideally, putting the juniors and the cadets on a separate day where someone could be removed from that day would probably work better. And then the next day it starts a new day, and with the rules being differently for juniors.
Hold on, we have a question here. So Alvin, by international judo standards, yes, it is illegal to have your club patch on the left side of your chest. It has to be on your right. It's considered a sponsorship patch. Now, does anybody actually enforce it? No. The IJF will, however, on the international scene, enforce it. The left side of your chest is only for your country's logo and seal, whether that be a flag or the emblem of your federation. So keep that in mind. The school would technically be a sponsor on the right side. When I was an athlete, I represented the New York Athletic Club, and I chose to wear that, I think, on my right sleeve or right chest, but never my left. Although in the States, even though we follow IJF guidelines, we don't make you use the country seal. We allow club seals. So yes and no. But
there's another question about how do you improve my judo if I don't have a good uke?
That's a long one to answer. That's why I skipped it. But it's a great question.
I'll just make a quick answer to that because I have that happen to me a lot when new people come into my program, and you have to teach the uke how to be a good uke, and Tori has to help them, and they have to learn how to relax, how to move on their toes. And I always say, pretend you're a feather, just move forward with the throw. It takes time. But if you work on it constantly, they'll eventually get it. And if you're not throwing on a crash pad, just make sure you practice ukemi enough where the fall is not going to be a little too impactful.
There's another question or another statement, I guess, here that is interesting enough, and I think we should talk about it. I'm going to put it up on screen just so everyone can see it.
Yes.
Face it, though, the best job as a judo coach was 99% done before the match in training. This wrestling style, coaching, shouting all the time is shameful to judo. So agree and disagree, right? Because I understand that the constant screaming and the constant yelling isn't what we want. Right, that's not helpful. The athletes do have to have their time to fight on the match. But with that being said, there is a way to do it in a way that can be respectful and helpful. Like you can call out, like you said before, like simple, like, hey, keep your right foot forward, like helpful reminders. If you can tell that the athlete is feeling pressured and may want to change his stance or get into a square stance, or you can encourage your athlete to let them know that they're doing the right things. I know you feel like you're in trouble, but your hands are in good position. Don't worry, don't panic. That way they stay in positions they may mentally want to leave, and then which can cause them to get thrown. I see judo as a working together coach and athlete doing things together, not as an individual of just the athlete trying to compete. We're just as involved as coaches, as athletes in the wins and losses of each player. So I think there should be some grace of when coaches should be allowed to coach and when not to. And I think I would personally like to see coaches being able to coach the entirety of the match as long as it's in reference to the athletes and not the scores. Because the scores are irrelevant to you helping your athlete. That's not your job as a coach to figure out the scores and the penalties or point out penalties to the referee. Like, your job is to help your athlete, not help the referee. And I think if we could draw that line, I'd like to see it open up a little bit more. But that's just me personally.
And I think that Travis and I agree on this, and he can disagree if he doesn't. But we teach, coach, and train our kids to be at a level, at the highest level possible. So we're developing our athletes when they're fighting. We're not thinking about the win near as much as we're thinking about development. We're looking for another step on the rung of the ladder to get closer to the goal we're looking for. So, I mean, winning that day, everyone wants to win that day. But my goal was for my athletes to develop where they could play judo at a level where they can go on the world level and play and possibly get on the podium. Because I'll tell you, it's a long road to the podium, So we're developing our athletes, and that's what's on my mind.
I chewed one of the athletes out at the Junior Olympics after he won one of his matches. I was so pissed. I was so irate. I couldn't believe how mad I was, and it was for something so stupid and simple that, and what he did didn't affect the outcome of that particular match, but it'll definitely affect the outcome of like higher level matches at like the junior and cadet world stage level, where I know that's not going to fly. And I was so mad that he disregarded the importance of it and just did it during that match because he knew he was going to win anyways. I was so
Exactly.
mad.
It
So
happen. People look at me like I'm crazy all the time. Your kid
So
just won. What's the problem? Winning's not the goal.
yeah,
Getting
that's
better is the goal. We need to move forward. Yeah. So I think we're in complete agreement on that. We're developing these athletes for the future, and you and I, maybe different than other people, know the difficulty in the path and how long it is and how hard it is.
yeah.
But
Alvin, he basically he's asking what the kid did. So
go ahead.
it was right on right. Kid came out, my guy, we'll call him, A, and his partner B, right? A came out and stole B's sleeve. Then my guy, A, lost his sleeve. So instead of keeping his hand up in good position, he dropped his hand and grabbed that guy's gi. And I was like, I saw red. I saw red. Now, part of the reason why I saw red is I was mad about the referee thing that had already happened. And so I was already, my blood was boiling. But when he came off the mat, I was like, I'm so fucking pissed. And he was like, why? And I was like, why the fuck did you grab his sleeve? And he was like, well, I wanted to do soda. And I go, but you fucking didn't. You didn't, though. That's my frustration. You can break any rule you want as long as you're trying to throw the guy. You can't break a rule and just walk around and think about it. Right? Your hand stays up in good position, because if he did that to me, he'd never get his hand back up. Yep. And then eventually I'd free my sleeve, I'd power grip him, and I'd make him regret it.
Without a doubt.
And he's not comfortable enough just standing there with a guy holding on to his sleeve and staying in proper position. And he let it get the best of him. I was so mad. And the match was all of like a minute, but I was so mad. I was so angry.
No, I think I know who you're talking about, but I won't say anything.
Oh, yeah. I was poking him in the chest.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are the types of things that we want when we're on the side of the mat and coaching and making sure keep your right hand up. I have that issue too, and it's very frustrating. Very frustrating. What do we have?
Oh, so mad over something so small.
Keep saying to relax. However, sometimes my body is too stiff, especially doing ukemi. How do you stay relaxed and improve my judo? Adam, you want to take that or should I?
I'll let you take that one.
Okay. Adam, you just started judo. You're 26. So I always say that when I teach a young kid, their body could do things that their mind can't understand. And when I teach an older person, I can get their mind to understand, but their body can't do it. So it takes time because you're normally stiff. You're normally stiff. So what I would tell you is that do a lot of movement when you play. Relax. Try to relax your body. Move around. Keep your shoulders over your hips. Do a lot of ukemi. Relax. Do some rolls. Relax. Okay, it's going to take some time. I wouldn't take at this point too many hard falls on the tatami because, like I said, that the mat comes up really quick when you get older, and it stings a little bit as you're learning how to do ukemi. But just try to move around, And I'll tell you, there's some great videos we have that Travis did on movement. That's important and it's good to do. Just learn how to move on the mats, and you'll slowly get better. Takes a little longer when you're older, okay? But just keep practicing it. You'll get better.
So let's.
Is it video time?
It's video time.
Okay.
Bam. Here we go. I've never seen these guys, so I'm watching them for the first time with you. Let's see what we got here. Oh, that hurt the pride. That hurt her pride. Oh. She gets up like it was nothing, walks away. Oh, that's embarrassing. Whoa. Oh man.
You know,
Oh,
the thing that's interesting is her right foot, the shift of weight onto her right foot before she. I always tell my kids the foot sweep. I mean, she is slamming that foot, slamming it.
oh. You can see that high pull too, right
Yep,
there with her
absolutely.
hands and shoulders are lifting. Look at that. It's very slight. Boom, the upward pull, both feet off the mat.
Yeah, and
Oh,
she watch how she guides her opponent's right foot just a little bit in front of her. Gets it right in front of her as she sweeps.
bam.
Yep,
Oh,
love it.
wow. Wow. That's one where you just walk into the back and you're smiling because you know you just
Yeah,
embarrassed
you
that
caught.
person.
Yeah, yep.
Oh, it's the getup that gets me. I love it. Bam. Right up. And the Mongolian person's like, I get off the mat as soon as I can. As soon as I can. Just get me off. Get me off. That's too funny.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me get the next one set up here. Let's see what we got for this one.
Again, he forces the movement.
Oh. Now, see, this one's not as embarrassing because he foot sweeps a lot of people. To be honest, like I thought I really understood foot sweeps when I was by the time I had retired, and I went to Italy with Judo Fanatics, and we filmed him, and I specifically asked him to show his foot sweep. I was amazed at how technically precise and planned his foot sweeps were.
Oh God, yes. God,
Like
yes.
typically when somebody has a good foot sweep, it's because they've kicked the guy enough times and
No.
then eventually they get that timing down. His is so well planned and so well trained. Like it was impressive. Oh, he nailed him right there. Right there. Like he
Right.
put all his weight on it, jumped
Yep.
back, he's gonna jump forward, boom. Oh,
So that is completely set up. The foot
yeah.
sweep is completely set up, and it's done so beautifully. And it's how he forces the movement and feels the shift of weight. It's quite technical.
I'm not a big fan of promoting products, but like if you want to learn how to do foot sweeps and learn this, he shows this in his Judo Fanatics video. It's impressive to watch, and it's amazing like the back and forth and how he gets his hands and bodies moving together. Like it's super impressive. I remember coming back and like just foot sweeping everybody after I learned it. I couldn't believe it. Oh. Oh.
The other thing too is that people think the foot sweep is from the foot. Watch his hip. The whole hip is all the way following through. Yeah, it's just beautiful.
Super impressive.
Do me a favor, show the combo, the one combo next. We could talk a little bit, but watching Suzuki do this, a big guy, use his feet.
Yeah, I've seen this video.
I know you have. You had to, right? It's just so beautiful. And just the shifting of the weight, how he has that feel where he knows off balancing one side, then the other side. It's just beautiful.
Oh. You know what though? Like big or not, most people aren't this fast. So if you're watching this and you think you're gonna pull this off, you're not fast enough. I'm telling you right now, you're not fast enough. The speed to pull this off with that 1-2 combination is like, and this is somebody who's tried it. Like I've tried this in Randori, I've tried it. Like he has so many years of experience with people just standing up and letting him practice this to catch that foot. Oh. I want to point this out since we're talking about foot sweeps and coaching and working with athletes. For all you guys out there who are athletes, okay, it is vitally important that you take note of this guy right here because Suzuki was one of the best players in the world. and he's one of the greatest technicians and one of the greatest Ashiwaza specialists to like ever grace the tatami, right? When you're doing randori and when you're competing, it's okay to break the traditional rules that coaches give you in order to accomplish the technique and get the score. Okay. And he does that right here. And when he teaches you, if you were to ever come up to him and ask him how he does his Ashiwaza or does this particular throw, he would never teach this. Because if you try to learn it this way, it's going to ruin that foundational platform that you're trying to build through your uchikomis and through your training. And it happens right there. When he bends his knee on the Ashiwaza, no coach anywhere in the world would ever tell you to bend your knee. But he's also smart enough and aware enough that when he stretches that out, he feels his partner trying to pull that leg back, so he bends his knee to follow and keep contact.
Yep.
And that's what allows him to turn him with the hands. It's all based on that instinctual feel from so many reps, so many randori sessions, doing this to so many people, that he's able to do that. If he does that and practices that for uchikomi, he becomes one of the worst judo players in history. I'm just telling you right now. So as we're doing things live and you're learning things on YouTube and watching Instagram and watching things happen, you'll see athletes make minor adjustments like this in order to complete the throw, but that's never how we practice. I just have to preface that.
Now,
look at that.
Suzuki
Look at that.
came up in the shadow of Kosei Inoue. He was a phenomenal player. He just was behind one of the greatest judo players ever. And he moved up a division and he started winning on the world level because he couldn't make the world team at that weight because he couldn't beat Kosei.
Boom. Look at that hand control.
Yeah, the hands. Right, the hands. Yeah, the hands are so critical.
looking into his eyes. He's just staring him down the whole time. Boom. Look at him, just dead stare. I love it. Bam. Owned you. Look at that. Just looking at him. I love it. Love it.
The other thing, when you're doing your Ashiwaza, your posture and your position that your supporting foot is under you so you can have that power is so critical. It's really critical to do that. So when we're watching these guys can attack the foot with such force because their supporting foot is under them and they have their whole body going into the technique, where if you're not there, you can't do that.
Yeah, I'm reading some of the questions here, right? And Jordan, I definitely think if you start adding Dayashi with the same foot that you do the sticker with, you'll see a lot more success. The other one too, Kevin, there are a few variations of Sutemi Waza. If you have a question about one of them, just let us know. I want to jump into the second one and see which second video you have here, just out of curiosity. Oh, you went way back in the archives for this one. Oh, yeah. Where do you find these things?
I like to surprise you.
Yeah. Here we go. Don't. That hurts the pride.
Coach cheated a foot sweep. Look at that.
That's the pride right there. Oh. How does that even happen? Oh.
I mean, for you guys watching, I want you to understand how difficult it is for him to put his right foot back down under him and do a foot sweep from there. That's
donk. Yeah, and Kobayashi wasn't really that good either. No. I mean, he obviously wins matches and won things, but like he was never really like a dominant force. I think he had like a year or two on the circuit, and that was it.
Yeah, but you know, in Japan they're so freaking deep, and I don't know if it was this way for you, but I always find one or two guys that did something that weren't in the top four, but they had something that was so unique and difficult, to stop. You wonder how could this guy be not be number one or two because he's so freaking tough for you. You do better with the guys that are closer to number one than these guys five or six because they're so
Yeah,
deep. You know, there's
yeah.
so much good judo there.
Well, and a lot of those guys that are like, I'll even go as high as three, like 3 through 10 for Japan.
Yep,
They're good at one thing, right? And they're usually good enough at it to throw anybody in the world.
correct.
The problem is once those guys who are good in the world know that they're only good at the one thing, they're really easy to beat.
Right.
So their world stage performance tends to be very short lived because they can't expand on their judo once people start learning.
That is so well said. That's exactly the truth. You look at the best of the best Japanese players; they do it all.
Yeah,
They can do it all. When you watch a highlight video of Mariama, you see Uchimata, and it's beautiful. But if you go a little deeper, you see Sode, you see Osoto, you see Tayo,
yeah.
you see Sayanagi. He does it all. He does it all. So I mean,
Now,
you're absolutely right.
when it comes to techniques, I firmly believe, and I actually had this conversation with somebody at the Nationals because they feel like they're shorter than most people in the division and they can't do Uchimata. But if you follow the way I explain Uchimata to people is there's one side, right, that is perfect technique. And then the other side, which is, I'm going to widen this a little bit so people can see my hands. Yeah. Then there's the other side that is like completely made up, right? We're just farting the wind, but we're gonna make up some stuff and kind of it's gonna be called Uchimata at the end of the day,
Yeah.
right? The taller you are and the longer you are, the more towards the made up side you can be, right? Because you have leverage and length.
Yep.
That's irrelevant to being short and stocky and then being able to throw people with Uchimata. As long as you follow the core basics of the technique, you get your foot to the top of the triangle, you elevate with the hands, leg goes through the middle. The leg is a guide. It's not the thing that throws them. And a lot of people misinterpret that because they always plant their foot towards the outside or never far enough across. And they always end up using that leg to finish, and it's just improper technique. And they get away with it because they lean more towards the either middle of the road, we're the same height, or towards the taller side.
Well, interesting. I just did my coach's session on Uchimata, and the people that do it great, whether it's Mariama or Yoshida or any of the great ones, they're the lift with their hip is
Yeah.
so critical, and that's how they throw the taller person. When they get in, their hips are able to lift up. When I watched Inoue do it, it was like almost like a hydraulic lift. When his leg went in there, you just kept going up because his hip lift was so strong. So it's critical to be able to do that.
Here's a question that everybody should kind of see and we can talk about, right? Because it's talking about developing a player's newaza. Do you prefer that they focus their efforts on learning one series at first, or is there an overarching concept such as four corners for tachiwaza to help guide them? It's an interesting conversation because even for tachiwaza, right? I understand the four corners, but I would never use it to teach somebody or develop somebody for judo because it's very very confusing because it's a lot of directions for and it's very hard for people that don't know what they're doing to play in all areas all the time and they tend to get overwhelmed. It's a lot easier to keep somebody like singular focus because they need reps and a lot of reps and they got to try it and their body's got to get stronger and stronger and stronger. um Typically like standing, if we're gonna ignore the fundamentals as far as like learning how to break fall and hold the gi, as coaches, as we're growing and people are learning judo, meaning they're learning like part of what the Kodokan determines is the 100 techniques of judo. Most clubs probably teach around 20 of the 100, right? The other ones we kind of just ignore. As they're learning those core ones that you teach at your club, you can just become hyper focused on the ones that you think people gravitate towards. And then you just build that focus in on that one. And I would do the same thing in Newaza where as a coach, I know what people tend to gravitate towards, and I know where they're landing in Newaza in order to ensure that they get the best success rate possible so that they're not just learning things arbitrarily, apart from like the everyday, like learning judo to learn judo, right? Like everybody should learn all the techniques, right? To get your black belt, we should all be learning them. But when we're looking at competitive advantages and learning to compete and what we're going to focus on to win matches, that becomes our like singular focus. It doesn't stop the development side, but when it comes time for randori and other things, we just kind of stay in our lane. I don't know, Steve, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, we kind of just talked about it a little earlier that there are some techniques that you learn that are going to take years to learn, like
Yeah.
the Ashibarai and like Tayatoshi's a throw that I think is necessary for everyone to learn, but it takes years to learn. And a throw like Sanagi or Osoto would be a little easier to learn. So you want to. I like to feel the athlete out when I'm doing it, but I agree with you. I go to the throws they gravitate to, and I continue to have them work on the throws that they need to learn and add to their judo in the future. So we're always doing ashiwaza. We're always working on ashiwaza. Everyone does taio, not every day. We do ashiwaza drills every day, but we do taio and we do ouchigari, and people gravitate to it and we work on it a little more, and the people that don't, we work on it less, but we work on it nonetheless throughout the year all the time, because they have to be able to develop it if you're building a whole puzzle.
Yeah, I think a good simple way for you guys to think about it is we're always learning. So we're always learning new techniques. But then there's always going to be those ones where we really try to master that we're really going to try to learn all the ins and outs of in all the different directions. And then we take the techniques that we're learning and they become our support techniques. Right. So I just try to, for Newaza, they're still always learning all the techniques, but they really want to focus in and master those one or two that they're going to like stick everyone with when they hit the ground.
Interesting that I was fortunate enough to have Nobuki Sato do a clinic when I was in '86. I was in Germany and he was there, and he gave a little clinic to the world teams that were there at a camp, and we were expecting him to show something really fancy or something neat, and he showed just the most simple turnover. And after we were done, we said, "Why did you do that?" He goes, "Because the basics always work. The basics always work. I could do a lot of neat, funny, looking stuff and something you find really cool, but this is what works all the time for me." And I think that made a lot of sense.
Yep. Typically, that's what happens when I go to training camps and I start like training with everybody. I tend to catch everybody with the same dumb thing.
Yep.
And that's the thing everybody ends up wanting to learn anyways.
Yeah.
Because they can't figure out why they're getting caught with something so basic.
Right. And you drill it, you do it right, and it works all the time. Basics wins.
Yep. Alvin, I wouldn't say you should, there's no like instead of a leg style or a hip style, it's just focus in on the basics. And as you are developing and strengthening your body movement with the basics, your Uchimata will just get better over time. And then you can learn like the different variations after your foundation is really, really solid. Mm-hmm. I mean, even late into my career, like I still, when I do Uchikomis, I do a basic entry. I very rarely would do like a split hip entry or anything outside of like competition or randori. That just wasn't how I would warm up and get my body ready to do anything or learn basic movements. It's always brought back down to the simplest forms.
Yep. Agreed.
I'm going to throw this.
Agreed.
Let's see what we got here. This one's labeled Ashiwaza combo. Let's see what we got. I'm going to put it up here. Bam. Oh,
So
I don't know if I want to call that Ashiwaza. That
well,
was
this is one of this is one of my favorite combos that I guess I haven't been able to teach a lot of kids, but the few I could, just the hitting that leg ouchi, shifting the weight to the other leg and doing. I love doing Osoto, so I used to do this when I fought, and I love the idea of just touching that first front leg and shifting the weight, and then going to the Osoto.
guys. As pretty as this is, I gotta say that like if you just stand up and you're not a coward, you don't get thrown with this. You should never be thrown with this. I mean, for crying out loud, like the guy's holding the end of the skirt for one. Like he never should have been able to turn your shoulders. Why is he playing defense here? You can't beat the guy if you don't grab the guy. Right? So like I'm struggling already. Right? Stance is squared in the wrong position. What are we doing here? It's like he's inviting the guy to come across.
Yep.
He's in a right-handed grip and a left-handed stance. The whole thing is foobar to me. He deserves to get thrown here. He deserves. The guy in white deserves to get thrown just because, technically speaking, he's doing everything absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. This is one of those times where he's still in a left-handed stance. This is one of those times where I poke my student in the chest, like, what's wrong with you? And this is why I get upset. Oh, it's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, why are we even in this position? How did he think he was going to get thrown? Who plays defense like this? Look at that body positioning. Look at that. He's like crouched in an S form. The guy doesn't even have his sleeve. How is he going to get thrown? What's he worried? Look at this bent. What are we doing? What's happening here? I kind of want to see the scoreboard because maybe he's winning with like 10 seconds to go and he's just trying to hang on.
He's hanging on.
Yeah. Look at that. How is that even what is the response here? The guy was doing Ochi. Your foot should be planted. Oh. I can't. Oh. Deserves. How does he even get his shoulders turned? The guy's not holding the sleeve. Oh. Oh. I can't. I can't. I just gotta turn it off. I can't do that. I just can't. Oh. Basics, man. It's just basics.
Right. No question. No question.
Oh, that kills me. I gotta tell you, we gotta watch another one before I get upset about that one so much. Oh, I think I saw this one live. Hold on. See what I got here. Bam. Okie dokie. Mr. Kyle Reyes. Oh, yeah.
I love the Koichi off of the Uchimata like that. I love that move. I don't see it a lot anymore. I just don't see that move a lot anymore.
Because people, when they compete now, because of the faster pace by dropping it a minute and the more frequent Shidos, they don't stand around anymore.
Yeah.
They're always staying busy. And part of the problem with, training in Japan is there's a lot of standing around.
Yeah.
Because the rounds are so long, there's so many of them, and there's so many training partners that it really helps you develop that feel.
Sure.
But you end up standing there. Because Kyle Reyes is a good judo player. He really is. Yeah. He could counter this anytime he wants. But he got caught flat-footed and standing around. And like he didn't sweep the leg, he didn't hook in and try to counter, he didn't reach for the back leg, he didn't even adjust his hands.
Nope.
He was just waiting for that opportunity, like Japanese players tend to do sometimes, and look for that perfect score instead of just fighting the match to win the match. And you can get caught with something stupid, which is something that, like, I don't know if he's ever really been caught with this in a competition, a Kochi in general.
Yeah. Yep.
But, man, foot sweeps are such an equalizer. Oh, such an equalizer.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Oh. Always got to play offense, man. Always look for ways to score. Don't just stand there.
No question.
We got one last video here. Boom, let's see what we got.
So I was.
Oh,
yeah.
That's not even a foot sweep.
No. So just so you understand.
Oh. He just threw this one in here just because he wanted to watch it again and again.
I threw this in for you. I threw this in for you. It's funny, when I was thinking about the topic I wanted to discuss, at some point I want to discuss spacing, and Abe certainly does a great job of managing her spacing, staying close. And I know this is a favorite of yours too. Yeah, I don't know if there's a time I don't like watching that one. Travis, you just put out I think a Facebook clip. I don't know if you control those or not, on how to keep the hand away and step in the koshiguruma. Are you aware of that?
She does it perfectly.
She does it perfectly, right? Push the hand away.
Hands on the inside.
And
closes space.
Yep. Look at that.
That's what I was looking for.
Look at the depth of her hips too. It's just it's perfect, right? It's interesting. You talked about having a wide range of waza for the top Japanese, and she's just one that does it all. Even her newaza is good. I think in the Olympics and in the World Championships, both championship match she won in newaza.
Because I yelled at the other person for this. I'm going to yell at this girl for that too. Like, I cannot tell you the importance of staying in good position, people.
God. Yep.
Right? So if we play this out just the first little bit, she's gripping like a righty.
Yep.
Right-handed stance. Now watch. We're going to go super slow. Square stance.
Mm-hmm.
Changes. Left-handed stance.
Yep.
If she stays in that right-handed stance, she doesn't get thrown with koshiguruma. She
might
get thrown with Osoto.
Yep.
But she doesn't get thrown with koshiguruma. Oh, look at that. Like, why would you change? Why are you running? Don't run. Don't run. Don't panic. I know she's intimidating, but don't panic. Panic. Right there. Panic.
Well.
Panic. Oh. Look, you can see her bring both hands over. Panic. Yeah. Total panic.
And you know what? Abe senses it.
Why would we panic? Oh. So she's panicking, right? Somebody's asking the question, like, what is she doing? Right? Like, for one, right, it's important to understand like who's playing offense and who's playing defense when we're watching, right? Especially as coaches. So if we go all the way back to the beginning, Abe backs up. We're good right here, right? In my brain, she looks like a lefty, just watching, right? Could be a righty, right? But right here, she's not actively putting her hands on Abe, right? She's defensively reacting to try to take that off with two hands because it's allowed now within the rules, right? When she realizes it, you guys can't see it, but what Abe's just done is posted on the collar, taken her other hand, and removed her grip. You can't see it, but as somebody who does Ippon Seinagi and Koshiguruma, I know that's what she did. Because I used to post really hard, and then when people go 2-on-1, you grab that other hand and you peel it off, and then you can start to work, right? So what she's doing is she tries to step back, can't do it. She bends. Look at that. She bends. She knows she's in trouble. Right here is the point where she goes, I fucked up. That's what's going through her head right now is I fucked up. She doesn't put a hand on the gi. She bends. Problem number one. That's panic setting in. Because if you put two hands on her, she can't get her hips close.
Yep.
When you bend, she also can't get her hips close. One's a panic reaction and one is a strategic reaction. Because when you bend, Abe knows if she stays bent, she gets the penalty. If she picks her head up, I'm throwing her, right? And so what happens is, right, we're walking through this play-by-play in our heads, play-by-play in our heads. She panics, boom, bends. Then as we go forward, she goes, oh, fuck, I can't stay bent. I'm going to get a penalty. So what does she do? She starts to pick her head up. And she realizes she doesn't have hands on the gi, right? Because this is nothing to me down here on the sleeve. She's posted on the collar, right? And because she holds that sleeve, she thinks she can change her stance and then put her left hand on the gi. So she's going from righty, where she started gripping, to, oh, fuck, I can't get it off. I better grab something. Oh, crap, I'm in trouble. I'm bending. And then she tries to change her stance. And right there, she hovers the hand. She's like, oh, where'd she go? Oh, no, I changed my stance. I'm in. They're all like instinctual panic reactions where like if she just took a deep breath, puts two hands on Abe, she might still get thrown. Don't get me wrong. She might still get thrown. But from a developmental point where we're looking at this as coaches, like making good decisions is more important than winning and losing. And right here, we're not making good decisions. We're making panic decisions, which is causing us to lose. You're better off losing with good decisions because we can fix those. Because as coaches, our response to this is, why didn't you put two hands on the gi? Why did you bend over? You're not supposed to bend over. Oof. And then we get blasted. Oh, look at that. No hands. No hands. She bailed. No hands. No hands. Frequent flyer Miles. No hands. Boom. 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 No hands. No hands. Boom. Boom. I mean, in all seriousness, if this was me and I was competing and somebody was going to do this to me, I would have stayed bent and put my hand around the waist. And I'd have just went like this. And then I would have tried to ghetto Simi to try to knock them off their base and not get a penalty. But I wouldn't have stood up. I would have known I was in a bad spot. And look at the scoreboard. We're good. We're in the first minute. I'll take the first penalty. Penalties don't matter anyways.
Yep.
Don't matter. You got to start playing strategically. We're on the world stage. Can't be making those mistakes, especially when there's no need because you have penalties to give. So now we're messing up with panic. Now we're messing up with strategy, and we got thrown. And the way we don't get thrown is we fix those other two, which we can't do. And that's where it becomes like development versus responsibility of winning. So, anyways, that was my rant.
I thought you'd like that.
That was my rant. I ranted. The other one was bogus. That guy was off his rocker. I don't know what he was thinking. I can't. This guy. We gotta watch it. We gotta watch it again. This is such a mistake. We're gonna play it again. We're gonna play it again. Hold on. We gotta watch this again. This is just so bad. So many things go wrong here. We're gonna play it again. We're gonna put it up here. We're gonna watch this again. Look at this. Oh, look at that. Oh, I didn't even see that before. What was he thinking? What is this? What are you doing? You can't even touch the leg. Why are you can't play defense like that anymore. He's not even grabbing the sleeve. What? My brain tells me he went to grab his own skirt and then whiffed to like try to get it back. And then he just whiffed. Just post on the chest. Just boom. You're underneath. Boom. Put it right on his chest. What are we doing? What'd he miss? What'd he miss? Oh, God. And like the crazy part is, right? Where's his hand? You know what happened, right? Hold on, can I change this to make us go live? Let me see if I can do this. Can I do that? Yeah. You know what happened was that guy pulled his sleeve.
Yeah.
White went under. And that's why the hand went across. So when Blue pulled it, White went to post and he went, shit, I'm stuck.
He locked it in.
That's what happened. That's why his arm's not reaching out. That's his arm stuck in the skirt.
Yep, it is. That's a good. I don't know how you get there.
You gotta be 5 mistakes deep.
That was good.
Mistake-free judo wins championships, people. Mistake-free judo. Too much coffee.
Without a doubt.
Anyways, that's all we have time for today, everybody. Thank you for joining our monthly public call here. Somebody asked about the VIP membership to American Judo and how the training works. All you have to do is email in and schedule a week. There's no actual weekly get-together. We allow everybody to come in for that 1 week of training where you can join classes, see how we run the club, join in with our elite players to learn and train with some of our guys, as well as get coached by us. The dojo is kind of open to you for that week at no charge. You just have to schedule that with us to make sure we're in town and we're actually here for you to be able to make it. Other than that, that's all I got. You got anything, Steve?
Nope. It was fun, as always. I'm glad I got you excited tonight.
So many mistakes. So many mistakes. Anyways, thank you guys.
Thank you all.
Next month.
Yes. Take care.